Hello, everyone. This is episode 15 of the Bandwagon Hockey Podcast. Ryan and I coming at you on this Tuesday evening. Inclement weather in, are you in Halifax or Antigonish? I think we were talking about this the other day, and I had them mixed up. And
I'm in Halifax.
Okay.
And I just had to correct Mitch the other day that Cinefex is not in Halifax, but
I always interchange Halifax and Nova Scotia. Like in my brain, it's the exact same thing.
I think that's pretty fair, but people around here would probably give you a hard time for that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So inclement weather. There was an alleged power outage earlier in the day, so hopefully the power remains intact for the duration.
It feels like every 2 days there's a new kind of storm going on here. Like right now it's like half rain, half snow with wicked winds. It's very odd.
What season do you associate March with?
More spring, for sure.
Me too, which is so false. Like
it's just not for Canada.
It's just every year it's false hope. Like we're getting dumped on and it's freaking March 14th. Like go away. Like
it's annoying.
Ugh. It's honestly the way I
it was
think
plus
spring,
8 yesterday here.
Yeah, like when I see baseball on my TV and like people are talking about the Blue Jays starting their season in like 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, why is there still a bunch of snow outside? But
yeah,
whatever.
Exactly.
Bit of a newsy couple days in the NHL actually. A few things to get to, namely the Philadelphia Flyers situation. Some news coming down about what they may look into rebuild wise. The Bill Armstrong, some of his, I don't know what you call it, some of his, quotes about Jakob Chychrun when he went on the, what was it, the Cam and Strickland podcast?
Yeah.
And then Andrei Svechnikov done for the year with an ACL. I'll leave it to you. Where do you want to start out of those three sort of major news points?
Let's pick at Philly because we touched on that a little bit last week.
We did. So some more news came out from 32 Thoughts. Daniel Briere gave his sort of introductory press conference talking about how it's going to be a multi-year process. It all sort of hinted at the fact that he's going to get the GM job probably once the interim tag is removed as of, probably once the season's done. You're not going to want to go into the draft and free agency stuff with him still in the interim tag. It was also mentioned that by 32 Thoughts that he's probably going to be either the president of hockey ops or the GM. But he did mention, and he was very clear about how it's going to be a multi-year process. It's going to be like a rebuild. I think he used the word rebuild multiple times, which is pretty uncommon for general managers. And it's very sort of anti-Philadelphia Flyers, despite the fact that it's something they've been needing since about 2019. It looks like this team's finally going to get the rebuild that it needs. And you could even argue that it's almost a little bit too late given the contract situation. But Ryan, what are your thoughts on everything going on in Philly right now?
Oh, it's 100% too late. It's about, like you mentioned, it's at least a few seasons late, but very clearly one season too far. Well, was Ristolainen 2 years ago, I guess, right?
They acquired him. I think they traded away a 2021 first-round pick.
Whenever that was done.
For Ristolainen. I think that was, I can't remember if that was draft day or leading up to the draft, but it was like the summer of 2021 or whatever.
Whenever that was done, it was where things really took a turn. And like they decided they wanted to take a retool approach, but got all of the worst players possible to try and do that. And then left themselves with no money for Johnny Gaudreau. So it was just an absolute shit show. I don't see how they turn this around any faster than like a Ottawa Buffalo situation, completely burn it to the ground. But as much as we say they use the rebuild word and they should be going for a full scale rebuild, Briere was still a little bit hesitant. I went back and listened again, and he was still a little bit hesitant. He was like, this is not going to be a full-on fire sale. We're not getting rid of everybody. We still have good players here. So it'd be interesting to see what that looks like, because I don't think they should be doing it half-assed.
I think it'd be tough for them not to do it, or I think it'd be tough for them not to do it half-assed. Okay, yeah. And I just think because of the contracts they have, like there's so many unappealing contracts, it'll make it tough to deal. Like you can get out of Kevin Hayes' contract and get some assets for him. Like he's a really good player. I think it's probably pretty likely that he goes to Columbus in the summer. What's another one? Provorov's been in trade rumors forever, but like he's probably a guy where if he puts in a better situation, he thrives. But as of right now, you could make the argument that he's overpaid just given his production, albeit on a piss poor Flyers team the past couple years. But beyond that, it's kind of a bunch of guys that it doesn't seem like Philly would want to trade. Like you've got your Konechny. Farabee doesn't look like a guy who's going to move given his age and the fact that he just signed a contract. You're not going to be able to move Ristolainen. And then you got Travis Sanheim, who just signed an 8-year deal. But I think the big name that would really sort of signify what Philly is going to do here is Carter Hart. And his name was kind of explicitly mentioned by Friedman on the 32 Thoughts podcast that dropped Monday morning, talking about that, like, Philly may actually look into moving sort of their franchise goaltender who kind of hasn't really lived up to the hype. I mean, like he was supposed to be the next, he was supposed to be the next Carey Price, and he's now 24 and he's just not, he hasn't really had that season. He objectively has not had that season yet. Like just looking at his numbers,
not been
good. His first 2 years, which were like the COVID years, I guess his second season was solid. He started 40 games. He had a .914 save percentage. His rookie year was the year he had the best save percentage of his career. But the last 3 years running, he's been a subpar, like below average goaltender, getting like the lion's share of starts. And at a certain point, when do you kind of cut your losses with Carter Hart and maybe look to move on from him? And at that point, what do you think you'd even get? Like, what do you think Carter Hart would fetch in a trade?
Well, how old is he right now?
He's 24.
Okay. I still think you can get a good package for Carter Hart because I think the league kind of knows goalies are voodoo, but at the same time, the league is dumb and will trade. I can see them getting a big package back because he's still 24 and he was that first round next Canadian goaltender that's how he was touted. I can see them still getting like a crazy return for him because that's how he was and because he's still 24.
The thing I don't love about the trade outlook for Carter Hart, I'm just bringing up his contract right now. I know he makes around $4 million. What did I just Google? Oh, and cap friendly. The biggest sort of reservation I have in terms of trade prospects for the Flyers is some of the other goaltenders that might be on the trade market this offseason. You say Saros' name has been out there. I don't know if Nashville necessarily is going to do that, but his name has been out there. It's hard to deny, and I think he's going to be a UFA after next season, maybe the year after. I can't quite remember his contract. Thatcher Demko's name has been out there for a bit. Connor Hellebuck, again, could potentially win a Vezina next year, depending on how the voters see sort of how Allmark has done behind the greatest, one of the best regular season teams ever so far. Like Hellebuck could be coming off a Vezina and put on the trade market, depending on how negotiations go between him and the Jets, given his contract status being UFA after 2024. I just think if you have maybe two, potentially even three of those guys on the open for trade, I think your market for Carter Hart really narrows down a little bit because all of a sudden he becomes that second tier of goalies available for trade, which says a lot because there's not often goalies up for trade.
Yeah, that would be a crazy market for goalies. And I could definitely see that happening. So that would be a tough situation for them. And at that point, I would probably keep him. Like, why not?
Yeah. He's an RFA after next season. Carter Hart is. He's making $3.979 million a season. It's a weird number. So I personally agree with Philly pretty much trading anybody on their team that's 24 and over. Like Provorov, I would trade him. I would trade Konechny. You could get a lot for Konechny.
Also,
Carter Hart.
I don't remember if I listened to the whole pod. did Friedman or Merrick's have any thoughts on if this might have anything to do with Samuel Ersson behind Carter Hart? Because he is currently 6-1 to start his career as a 23-year-old.
No, they didn't mention that. That's the first I've ever heard his name. But now that I'm looking at his stats, they're still not good, but he's 6-1. He's winning games, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What is he? 5th round pick in 2018. Yeah, no, they didn't mention him. Not that I remember anyway.
Okay.
So maybe that does have to do it. I just think it has more to do with sort of trading away an asset while it still has value. So you say Saros has 2 years left after this one, so maybe he's not quite up for trade just because Nashville seems like they're going to have a lot of maneuverability in these next couple off seasons, given that it looks like they might be looking to sell more pieces. But with regards to Carter Hart, like, I'm not trading a first round pick for him. Are you? Depending on where in the draft, maybe?
Yeah, it depends on the situation.
If
like,
you're
as an Ottawa fan, I'm not doing that because of Ottawa's situation, just in how many first round picks they've traded already.
Right.
But I don't know, if the right situation, you need a goalie for, like, I don't know. Who would be a team that needs a goalie badly in the next little bit that would actually, like, contend?
I'm looking, and I kind of have a wild idea. You're going to shit on it.
Okay.
But I have a wild idea.
Okay.
So Philadelphia is going to go into a rebuilding phase. Would you say that rebuilding phase will take more or less than, 3 years?
It should take more than 3 years.
You want to know who has 3 years left on his contract after this season?
Who?
Sergei Bobrovsky. What if
that would
Florida
be
Panthers...
They don't have the assets to do that.
That's the thing that's brutal. They don't have the assets. I always forget that because I was just thinking, what if you overpay in assets for Carter Hart because then you send off Bobrovsky, all of a sudden you have your goalie and you have... Oh, wait, they have Spencer Knight. They have Spencer Knight too, though. Shit, okay. That one's kind of fluff.
But right now you don't know his future, but you assume he comes back and is a good goaltender?
Scratch Florida. I don't know, man. Like, Washington just signed their guy. Columbus, maybe, but I just don't think Columbus is going to be looking to add.
I think Washington is just going to be a state of middling until Ovi's gone.
Well, that, and they just signed Kemper, so, like, you can't. Yeah. So that doesn't make a ton of sense. Dallas is set. Minnesota has Gustafsson now, RIP. Colorado has Georgiev. Winnipeg won't need a goalie unless they have to trade Hellebuck. Who knows? I don't know. Nashville, St. Louis would be interesting if they didn't have freaking Binnington. I don't know, man. There's not a lot of room out there. LA would be cool. That'd be a cool one for Carter Hart. LA is going to be the hot spot for goalies. Seattle, honestly, looking at Seattle right now, Seattle would be a good one. Montreal would be a terrible spot for him probably because
it would be horrible,
the pressure. Coming in after Carey Price, after that was kind of his comparison after being
Imagine Montreal just says, screw it this offseason and go out and get Dubois and Carter Hart and just, like, send it.
That'd be sick. Honestly, I'd be on board with it. I think that'd be cool.
That'd be really cool.
No, but in terms of, like, realistic fits, I think you're looking at LA. I think you're looking at Seattle. I would actually love Seattle. I'm starting to kind of really like that idea. It's tough with the cap given Grubauer. But... yeah, I don't know. It's just goalies are so tough, right? Like, there's just so many of them. They're so on and off every year.
I hate investing a lot in a goalie, whether it be trade, a high pick, a long contract. I just don't like it. It's very off-putting because there's such voodoo.
I always forget that Florida does not have assets. Not only do they have this gaping sort of black hole of cap in their net, they don't have assets to get rid of it. So anytime I think of like a high money move to switch around, get rid of that goalie,
In theory, I don't mind it, but
like in theory, I think it'd be cool if you do like Bobrovsky and a couple firsts for Carter Hart. You clear out the cap and you get the young goalie, but it just wouldn't work. And plus, I forgot about Spencer Knight, which kind of speaks to how his career has gone as well. Okay. I also want to note quickly, Northeastern was eliminated from the college hockey playoffs. I don't know if they have a name. The other day, and it looks like Buffalo's trying to sign Devin Levi. Did you just have a flash of?
There was a flicker.
Okay, we'll keep it going. And it seems like Buffalo's trying to sign Devin Levi right now, which is a really sort of exciting development, I think. I'd be interested to.
I didn't know that was the plan to have him come over this year.
I don't think it is to have him come to. I think they want him in the organization, is what.
Signed.
Said.
Yeah, sorry.
Like I think so. He'd probably go to the AHL right away. But I'd be curious to see how he does, because if you look at his numbers, have you looked at his numbers?
Not recently, but I know they're ridiculous.
Every season, everywhere he's been, it's insane. World Juniors, like MVP.
Yeah.
Olympics. I don't think he was the starter in the Olympics, but I think he played really well. Junior A, like I'm pretty sure the Carleton Place Canadians would have like won nationals if COVID didn't interrupt their season, because the goalie was so good. And then at Northeastern, like he should have won the Hobey Baker last year. But the guy who did was a different goalie, despite Levi winning goalie of the year. It was like one of those dumbass
college voting in general is dumb. I don't know if I sent you this today. But Nyes beat out Fantilli for their conference player of the year. Like, that's just crazy.
And Fantilli had 20 more points.
He's like the best college
3
prospect
years
ever.
younger. And like 3 years younger.
Yeah, he's like one of the best college prospects ever.
Yeah. This is kind of related, different sport. In the NBA in like 2012, 2013, LeBron James finished first team All-NBA, but finished second in defensive player of the year. The guy who won Defensive Player of the Year, Marc Gasol, finished on the All-NBA second team defense.
Sick.
It's because the voters are different. It's not the same people voting on stuff. So, but it's like that just objectively doesn't make sense. Okay, let's move on. Let's move to Carolina, whose ceiling took a hit today. They lose they lose their franchise guy, Andrei Svechnikov, done for the season with a torn ACL. Apparently, they were looking into every option that they could possibly find to try to avoid it, because, you know, hockey players, they'll play through anything they can, but you really just can't play through a significant knee injury. And so they have to shut down Svech. He gets the surgery. He's got 55 points, 23 of them goals in 64 games this season. He's their guy. Like he drives play, maybe behind Aho, he's their guy. Yeah. And probably the best shot at dethroning the Boston Bruins in the playoffs, just lost one of their best guys. And it sucks to see, especially given his age. He's so young. Who knows how much longer this Carolina team is going to be together, given Aho's UFA status after next season. And just because of the roster turnover that Carolina consistently has, this was going to be one of their best kicks at the can. It just really sucks to see.
Yeah. He's definitely very important to that team. Like, he's just a force on the ice. He was a big reason why I thought they could really do some damage. And I honestly think they probably had a very good chance at beating the Boston Bruins, and maybe they still do, but he's such a big piece out of their lineup. Yeah. It's hard to put them up against a Boston team that just got so ridiculously better at the deadline too. So I don't know. I love this Carolina team, to be honest, and it sucks that they're going to be without one of their key pieces going into the playoffs, because I would have loved to see them at their best.
The timing couldn't have been worse either, too, right? Because the deadline just passed, so you can't replace him. Can you imagine if this would have dropped a week before the deadline, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, San Jose, we'll throw in an extra first for Meyer. Like, does that beat New Jersey's offer? You know? It's crazy, the timing of it all. It's really unfortunate to see, and I also was really excited to see Carolina in the playoffs, try to go on a run. I don't want to say I like the Rangers better than them. I maybe like the Devils better now, just because of that subtracting Svechnikov, adding Meier sort of swap between the two teams. Like all of a sudden, one team's without their best winger and one team just acquired their best winger. I mean, I don't know. It looks like those two teams are on a bit of a crash course for the second round because the Rangers have looked like shit since the deadline. So
they played each other head on, the Hurricanes and the Devils, the other night, right? And the Devils won 3-0.
Yeah, they kind of crushed them.
That was crazy. Like it's a 2-horse race for that division right now. It'll be interesting to see who can. They're tied at 94 points. Just the Hurricanes have one last game played.
Yeah.
It'll be cool to see if the Devils can pull off a division title. That would be crazy. Eh?
That would be cool. That'd be really what cool. A jump that would be too.
Yeah.
You know what's okay? I'm looking at the Devils' schedule because I want to see if they played Carolina again. You want to know something weird?
Mm-hmm.
The Devils play the Lightning 3 out of 4 games in a row. So they have a double, a back-to-back against Tampa. So okay, not back-to-back, but the 14th and 16th versus Tampa. So Tampa's in Jersey for both those. One of those has got to be a rescheduled game from earlier in the season. I don't know when it would have been. And then they play Florida. They play at Florida on Saturday, and then they play at Tampa on Sunday. So they've got Tampa today, Tampa Thursday, Florida, then Tampa.
Yeah, that's very odd. Another odd schedule thing that I noticed today when I was making up our graphics was that Dallas was at Seattle 2 nights in a row.
Okay, because Detroit was at Ottawa, but that was a rescheduled game.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there were a couple of rescheduled games around the league and we just didn't hear about them.
I don't remember hearing them, but
Dallas was at Seattle back to back.
Yeah, but there wouldn't have been anything canceled in Seattle.
Yeah, that's weird. I wonder why. Although I just wouldn't put it past the NHL to just schedule that.
Yeah, I'm sure that probably was it.
Speaking of scheduling, let's talk about. I understand there's a little bit more nuance to it than. Oh, they should play this night and this night. There's a million different things going on with arenas. Most teams don't own their arenas, so they don't get first dibs, that kind of thing. But the Ottawa Senators in Vancouver at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. local, but for their bodies, it's 10 p.m. At Vancouver Saturday night. Daylight savings time that night. So at 2 o'clock, the clock jumps forward to 3 a.m., so you lose an hour. And you're going to Calgary, so the clock jumps back, so you lose another hour.
They flew overnight, too, so they probably got there dead early in the morning.
Yeah, they probably got there. The clock would have jumped twice overnight.
Yeah.
So
while they were in the plane, yeah.
Yeah, there's a good chance that at 2 o'clock, it became 4 o'clock for the team.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It might as well have. And so, basically, the team played 2 games. When teams say they played 2 games inside 24 hours, it's true, but Ottawa played 2 games inside of 22 hours, which is wild.
Yeah,
and that's 2 hours less sleep, less recovery time. It's just nuts to me.
They were going from a 10 Eastern start to a 9 Eastern start, but in between it, 2 hours changed. That must be so jump forward messy on the body.
Oh, it'd be so wild. But then the thing that's the most ridiculous to me, I swear I hope Calgary, the Saddle Dome was booked Monday night because Ottawa plays Edmonton tonight. There's no way in hell that the NHL scheduled the back-to-back to be Vancouver to Calgary at daylight savings rather than have Ottawa be off Sunday for a travel day and then play Calgary and Edmonton Monday, Tuesday. There's got to be something at the Saddle Dome Monday night. I hope so, for the sake of the league, because that's crazy. Yeah. I get that every team goes through probably one stretch like that in the year, but that's so avoidable, assuming, again, that the Saddle Dome wasn't booked for Monday night.
I'm doing some investigative research.
Okay, you do some investigating. We're going to circle back to the Devils. They have a bit of a weird schedule for the rest of the year. They play a surprisingly low amount of interdivision games. So, as I mentioned, they've got Tampa, Florida, Tampa. That's 4 non-division games against the Atlantic. Then it's Minnesota, non-division. Then it's Buffalo, Ottawa, both of which also against the Atlantic, not in the division. And then it's Islanders, Rangers, both against Metro. And then it's Blackhawks, Jets, both not in the Metro. Pittsburgh, Columbus, Boston, Buffalo, Washington. So the rest of the year, that's now 16, 17 games, depending on the team. New Jersey has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 divisional games, which is like really weird for the end of the season. Usually you see those division games ramp up at the end of the year. So it's just a bit surprising. So I wonder, I don't know. I wonder if maybe that's definitely a good thing with their playoff seeding. It means teams won't be able to really catch them, but I wonder how that affects their chances of catching Carolina, just because they don't play Carolina and they don't have those interdivision games, which are valuable in chasing teams.
Yeah, it seems like the league has done several scenarios like that this year where divisional games are just piled on at the start or the end, and it kind of sucks.
It's what the NFL does. I mean, the first and last week of the season are pretty much always division games, except for the odd marquee matchup. But the last game of the season in the NFL is always divisional.
Yeah, I guess I can understand, like, start and end. But, like, do we need to have, even Ottawa, it's not divisional, but Ottawa plays Carolina, like, 3 times in a month or something here. It's ridiculous.
That makes no sense there. I don't mind the idea of maybe having your last 2 or 3 games against teams in your division, though.
Yeah.
It makes
I don't mind
for
that
like
either.
Some wicked matchups depending on playoff races and stuff.
Like home openers and stuff against divisional opponents and stuff. That's cool. I'm not ripping that.
But then like wrapping the season up with those types of games is good too.
Like your fan appreciation night against a divisional rival would be cool.
Yeah. It's just that the league seems to be a little bit allergic to playoff races lately, so we just haven't really gotten much. So with that being said, scheduling beefs aside, do we want to jump over to the Bill Armstrong, Jakob Chychrun stuff? Yeah. Okay. This was weird. So Bill Armstrong goes on the what's the show called? Cam and Strick podcast, basically just for an interview. And obviously, naturally, the Jakob Chychrun trade comes up, and it was universally frowned upon by a lot of analysts and insiders, not insiders, but fans alike, just because of the underwhelming return on the surface. Like 1 first, 2 seconds, when the asking price for 2 years was at least 2 firsts and a top prospect. We've gone into it on previous episodes of the show about how we feel about the trade acquisition from Arizona's perspective. Like the first round pick is probably more valuable than a lot of other teams that had have been willing to give up 2 late firsts. So it's whatever. But basically, Bill Armstrong goes on the podcast and explains that the reason why the return was less than he originally wanted was because Chychrun was hurt for a year and played like ass.
He literally called him terrible. He used the word terrible.
Here's the quote. I was reading an article on how we buffooned it, the big saga, and how we blew this. But people skim that. They don't really understand that Jakob was injured for 8 months. It's hard to trade a player when he's coming off a season where he was minus 20. He was terrible. And then you throw his injury history from before, and then you throw his injury history now, and he's out for 8 months. That's baffling. You never hear GMs shit on players on their way out like that.
There are so many parts of what I like. I heard different snippets, and I actually do want to go and listen to the whole podcast just to hear how ridiculous it sounds. But there's a lot of different parts of it that just make no sense. Like Armstrong has stated several times now to the public that Chychrun requested the trade, and that's just not true. The organization asked him if he would like to move on, and he said yes. Yeah. That's just not how it happened. And I think at one point, too, he said he had a really nice package lined up for him, but it was a team that he didn't want to go to. So he, respected his decision. But he doesn't have he didn't have any trade.
Doesn't have no trade protection.
So he's not like some out of your job.
He's not some seasoned vet who's been there for 10 years and deserves the respect. Like he's a 24-year-old guy who doesn't want to be there. Just trade him.
So if you turn down a better offer, you're bad at your job. You are bad.
Like, truly. Like, bad. You are doing everything wrong in this job. Like
he also quoted plus minus on Arizona Coyotes. Like, screw off. That's ridiculous. minus 20, that is the stat you pick out. Drake Batherson is minus like 25 right now on the Ottawa Senators. Like, you think I care about Jakob Chychrun being minus 20 on the 2021 Arizona Coyotes? No, screw off.
It's a fake stat. It's such a dumb stat. And yeah, that also, like, you know what? If the guy is minus 20 on a team that drafted third overall, I wouldn't really care that much. I'm not gonna lie, especially when he's playing 22 minutes a night, like, or however much he was playing that year. Probably around 22 minutes a night. Yeah, it's a bad look, to be completely honest. It's a really bad look. Arizona's just such a mess. I feel bad, honestly. Like I've kind of been an advocate for wanting Arizona to draft Matvei Michkov, like get the 4th overall pick or something, like draft Michkov so you get this guy come over in 3 years so that we don't have to see one of these young superstars like a Bedard or a Fantilli or a Carlson come over and play in the college rank and play in this toxic organization for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And now I don't even know if I want Michkov to go there because it's just such a dumpster fire organization. He's going to be such a great talent in 3-4 years when he comes over from Russia. I just don't know. I just want this team in Houston. Like,
see, I struggle a lot because the Arizona market it has so much potential. They've just bungled it so bad. Like, it seems like every person they get in there to do their job just can't do it. So I don't know what they're going to do with it. If, like, I don't know.
Not only
they got to be going
do
straight
they do their jobs.
They leave me speechless because it's such a good opportunity and it's just been screwed so hard.
Yep. And, like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I like their rebuild so far.
Yeah.
They're doing it the right way. Like, complain all you want.
Bad job.
The only reason they catch the slack is because they're a glorified money launderer and because of the college rank. Like, in terms of, like, how they're accumulating draft picks and who they've drafted, like, Genther looks like he's going to be awesome. I can't remember if Arizona drafted him or if he was traded over to Arizona from Vancouver.
They drafted him.
They drafted him? Okay. And then...
with the pick.
I knew it was Vancouver's pick, but I wasn't sure if it was like a draft and trade or if. But anyway, so they drafted Genther, who looks like he's going to be a stud. They obviously still have Clayton Keller, who I think they should trade, but again, I guess they need to hit the cap floor somehow. They've got Cooley, who looks awesome. He played really well at the World Juniors, and he's lighting up. Is he at Minnesota? I think. Do you know?
Yes. Yeah.
I want to say he's at Minnesota, playing awesome. And yeah, I mean, they've got guys coming, and they're going to have probably a top 6, top 7 pick this summer, along with Ottawa's pick, probably in the top between 10 and 14, something around there, unless Ottawa goes crazy and moves up in the lottery 10 spots, which would be wild. I don't dislike what Arizona's doing. Like, I wish they would have packaged Chychrun and Vejmelka and gotten more, but I don't hate the return for Chychrun. It's just everyone that is doing their job. It seems like to be shitty people, and they seem to try to cheat a lot. Like John Chychrun, I loved John Chychrun when he was signed. Like, he was kind of I don't want to say he was a trailblazer, but I think he was in Arizona before Dubas. He was the first, like, young, analytically inclined GM.
Yeah.
And he made shrewd moves, and then everyone found out that he was, like, illegally scouting prospects or something. Yeah. And so then he got fired and they got stripped draft picks. And then now, like, Bill Armstrong's talking shit about his players, and, like, the team had always had rent payment issues. Like, they weren't paying rent on time. And it's
which is why they're kicked out of their building.
Which is why they're not in their building, which is still standing. Like, that building is just vacant right now, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe the Suns play there, I don't know. But, like,
no,
it's just a joke. It's a joke. I don't know. And this is kind of just the epitome, talking shit about this young guy who seems to have embraced Arizona until he was asked if he wanted to be traded, at which point he was like, yeah, I want to be traded. And then it took 2 years to trade him. Like,
and he just keeps pushing the narrative. Like, every time he gets a chance to speak publicly, he's like, "Oh yeah, would Jakob ask for a trade?" Like, no, stop it. It's annoying.
I think he's saying that because people see it that way, because at the beginning of this year at like training camp and opening press conferences and stuff, like he kind of reiterated that he wanted to be traded.
Well, because he's fed up.
Well, exactly. And that's because for a year prior, he was approached about being dealt and he said yes.
Yeah.
And then a year later, he hadn't been dealt.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all for doing that on media day. Not one bit.
It's a joke. But I don't know. As a, I don't know. I think it's kind of hilarious that the team is currently 27th in the league. They're just tanking their lottery odds. It makes me so happy to know that there's such a slim chance that Bedard's ends up there. That would have been nightmare fuel seeing him
killing teams at mullet. Their home record is awesome.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they've been playing a shit ton of home games too, because they had that opening season road trip of 13 games or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've been crushing teams.
I had a trip to Arizona last year, and I went to an Arizona Coyotes game, and they've just been hitting me in with the ticket promotions. So at least their marketing department is on it.
At least their marketing department's doing their job properly. Can't really say much about the other 99% of the organization.
No.
But yeah, Arizona right now 6th in the lottery standings, and they're quickly gaining on Philly and Vancouver, although Vancouver's been playing well. So honestly, I hope Arizona keeps winning games and they get the 9th overall pick, and this rebuild gets delayed another year or two, because they don't deserve to be good. Like, the organization, the fans deserve a good team, but the organization does not deserve success.
I would agree.
All right, how do we want to wrap up the show? We're at 37-ish minutes. We went long last time.
Let's wrap it up talking some Disney.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you give the spiel on that.
All right, so tonight is the first ever Disney broadcast for the NHL, kind of taking a play out of the NFL's Nickelodeon game playbook. I
kind of
think
taking it one step further, though, eh?
Oh yeah. So so I guess there's a show called Big City Greens on Disney now, which I've never heard of, but go off. It's an animated show, and they're gonna animate the game that's going on between the Rangers and the Capitals live somehow and broadcast it on Disney Channel. So it could be really cool, but I don't really trust the NHL with the execution at all. But what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, the good thing is that you don't have to watch it if you don't want to. There's other broadcasts. Obviously, it's not just the animated, whatever the show is called, characters playing hockey. But, I mean, tell me you don't want to see what it looks like.
Of course I want to see what it looks like, and I think it's a great idea. You should be marketing to younger audiences. This is what you should be doing.
And that's the thing, Ryan. Would you have had any interest in tuning into the Rangers-Capitals game whatsoever before?
No.
And that's why. So all of a sudden you get all these hockey-crazed adults who are like, I want to see the NHL fumble this or see what it looks like. So you tune in for however long. You inevitably become annoyed or bored, and you switch it back to the regular broadcast or back to whatever you were doing. But then you've got these kids who are watching TV. Their parents see that the Capitals and Rangers game is on fucking whatever, YTV or whatever what it is now.
It's Disney.
And they're just throw it on, and it's a bunch of little, I don't know, toy-shaped characters playing hockey, and it's actually simulating a real game, and all of a sudden these 4, 5, 6-year-olds are like, whoa, that's cool. I want to play hockey. I think it's genius.
I think it's a great idea. I can't wait to see the execution. I just cannot wait, because also I don't know how I would get corrected on this, but I've never heard of this show. Maybe it's the biggest thing in the world in the States, but I've never heard of it. Why don't you pick something more recognizable?
Yeah, I think
Like,
they kind
the
of
NFL the NFL runs like SpongeBob all over the place on the broadcast.
Yeah, it's like Nickelodeon, right? So it's all the iconic Nickelodeon stuff. So it's
and if you're doing a partnership with Disney, like, I don't know, maybe it's Disney that came to them wanting to promote this show, but like,
maybe
I don't know.
I've never heard of the show. I looked it up and it started in 2018, so it makes sense that I've never heard of it. But I think I don't know. I think maybe like I kind of cut the NHL some slack for the show that they chose because I think their target audience is
and like that's
4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds that know this show and think it's cool, whereas like adults don't give a shit what show it is. They just want to see the execution and don't really give a shit what
that's
show
where
it
I
is.
say and that's where I say I can be corrected because like I don't watch Disney Channel anymore, so I don't really know what's regularly playing on there. But like I just feel like it could have been Phineas and Ferb or something that's still going that so many generations like kind of know, right? Like I don't know.
Is Phineas and Ferb a kids show though? Like is that a show that you get 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, and 6-year-olds?
Well, are you trying to get 4-year? Like I don't know.
I think that's the target audience for this thing.
You think this is like a Sesame Street vibe? I didn't look it up at all.
I that's what I think. I think it's like 10 and under. I don't know. Here, I'm going to go look up. I'm going to go Google. Do you remember what the show's called?
It's called Big City Greens.
Okay, I'm going to look up the show.
A direct quote from one of my friends that I sent it to is, it looks like Roblox.
Oh, God. What is this show? Okay. It is. This is going to be excellent to listen to.
We're going to get a copyright strike because we're playing this on the pod.
After losing his farm in the country town of Smalton, Bill Green and his 2 children, Cricket and Tilly, move in with his mother, Alice Green, who lives on a small farm in the middle of a city known as Big City. Okay, that's not descriptive. I need to know, like, ratings.
I need to know everything about this show now.
What is it called when, like, you get the age?
Oh.
The age rating.
I don't know. Can you not just put in age rating?
Like, you know how if a movie is like 18 plus? Okay, it's a show for kids 8 to 12.
Okay.
I don't think Phineas and Ferb is a show for 8 to 12-year-olds.
No?
Like, maybe 12 and up. Like, between, I think, I don't know, maybe 10 and up.
Yeah.
But I don't think I started watching Phineas and Ferb until, like, probably middle school.
Yeah, but that probably checks out around 12. Yeah.
So I think it's one of those things where they choose like this dumb kids show that kids like because they know the adults don't actually care and aren't actually going to watch it for 3 hours.
No, it's fair. I just hope it's actually popular.
I'm actually, like, after we record this, I'm going to go throw it on TV and see what it looks like.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like, I hope there's lots of clips on, because it's already started, right?
Yeah, it's on right now. It might even be at intermission because it's 7:50 right now.
I'm going to do a quick scroll through Twitter to see if I can see a clip.
I just did that. I couldn't find anything. Rangers are up 3-1 at the end of the first.
No way no one's clipping this.
You might have to search it. I'm not sure.
It's bullshit.
It's also like a Disney thing, so it might be locked down with...
I found it.
Oh, you found it?
I found it.
Can you send it to me? I want to watch it. Okay, let's wrap up the show. Okay. We're just like kind of shooting the shit right now. Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything else. You don't have anything else. Playoff races are ramping up. Teams are getting injured, and Bill Armstrong is a piece of crap. All right, hit the outro.
All right.
He's scrambling to hit the outro. He's nervous.
The animated characters are so funny, man.
I got McDavid putting up 5 points tonight against the Sens and 7-2 win. I think Ottawa gets shit pumped tonight.
I got Chychrun putting up 3 points in the first power play with Yote.
Damn.